So we get to the Delta kiosk. We're trying to check in, and it's giving us American Airlines. It's giving us an issue, so we have to go to the ticketing counter. So we go to get in line, and this employee from health that works for American Airlines, she was super rude. Okay, fine, I understand it's challenging for you to deal with international travelers right now, but she was like, you need to fill out the locator form right now, scan this, QR code, and sit there and do it for every single family member. Well, this is not an easy form. Like it takes a while. You've got to put in all of your information.
It's 6 of us, by the way.
We stand to the side, and all 6 of us. So now we're distributing, passports, COVID vaccinations, negative test results to every single one of us. There's 6 of us. We're traveling with Eddie's mom. And we're trying to fill out ours, and everyone's asking us what to put. So long story short, it took about 45 minutes. Secretly inside, I'm like looking at my watch, and I'm like, this is definitely taking way too long.
Right. What
if we don't make it? Right. So I'm just kind of fear casting in my head, but not panicking.
No, we say, okay, you asked the lady, should we be worried?
No. I said, I'm getting a little worried because now we've just spent 45 minutes. That's eating into our check-in time. And she looked me dead in the face and she said, you should be worried. Hey guys, welcome back to the Push Podcast. I'm Janelle Copeland.
And I'm Eddie. How's it going?
It's going well. This is episode number 102.
Yeah.
Or 101?
102.
It's 102. Okay. Yeah, because we talked about money in the last episode.
Yes, we did.
And then now we're going to talk about how to spend that money, which was spending that money on a vacation.
Right.
So we just got back. Eddie is really tan.
I am, what do they call it?
You're like 10 shades darker.
Another shade, a new shade.
You are.
I am peeling though.
You always get super, super dark though.
Yeah.
And you are peeling a little bit, but that's okay. You still look handsome. I, on the other hand, developed some sort of all over my body rash. I think it was a combination of the crazy heat wave, which we're going to talk to you about. It was over like 105, 107 degrees. We were constantly sweating. I was using different water. We were in the ocean. And I just think it was a combination of my skin was like, what the hell is going on? So I'm like covered right now, head to toe with what looks like eczema. And I have an appointment in about an hour to go get a shot from my dermatologist to get it under control. So we thought it would be interesting not only to kind of walk you through our trip, not to brag, but to talk to you about all of the crazy things and obstacles and challenges that we had to overcome, because the Push Podcast is about shifting your perspective and choosing to find the good in things, right?
Yeah, and it was an amazing. We'll start with this because we're going to talk about a lot of the challenges and the obstacles, but it was a beautiful trip. I don't think we went into it with the expectations that it would be perfect. I know I didn't.
No.
Right?
But we don't ever think anything's going to be perfect.
And so we always kind of go with kind of staying in the moment and being in a place of amazing gratitude and just kind of taking it all in and being present. So, but this was a trip of, thinking about Thailand was pretty smooth.
Okay.
Right? We had some things, near-death experiences, but who doesn't have that on the
most people don't have near-death experiences on their family vacation.
But other than that, we didn't have any issues with,
I think
logistics.
Almost dying on a ship in Thailand is a pretty big deal.
Right.
Anyways, where are you going with it?
Well, what I'm saying is that this trip had far more obstacles, things we had to overcome.
Right.
Which, it was good to understand that and know that when you're traveling internationally.
Right. So to give you a little context, it was somewhere around January, February that I realized that this is our last kind of big family trip we'll be able to take with our girls as a family of 5, because Jasmine's now 20, Kayla's moving to Scotland, she's going to be 18, Jordan's 16. And, as they get older, take on jobs, just different things, it's just hard to round up your children and take them on a family vacation. So we were supposed to continue our home renovation this year and focus on the backyard and redo the pool, build patios, things like that, re-pour concrete. And then when I had this realization, like, oh my God, we only have a couple more months with them, we immediately decided to take that money and allocate it towards creating more memories with our kids. And so We had talked about going to Greece in 2020 for your birthday, but I think truth be told, we didn't necessarily save up for like the fact that we were going to take an epic trip in 2020. So maybe it was like God's blessing of saying, I'm going to give you another year. And so this time we got to go all out. I do want to let you know that in the next episode, we're going to be interviewing Brianna Glenn, one of our friends. She is a travel concierge, I think is what I would call her. Her company, Milk and Honey, they book all of our travel for us, and we just love working with her. We're not getting paid to talk to you about this, but booking travel international can be really tricky. I remember when we were looking into Thailand, Eddie was like, okay, so we're going to do this, here in the morning, and then we're going to book this here in the evening. And then when we finally talked to Brianna, she was like, yeah, good luck. That's like an 8-hour difference. You would have to take a flight to get there. And so then we realized we needed to give it to a professional, right? Yeah.
I mean, just plain logistics is extremely hard to do. Right. And so when you have someone do that for you, obviously it's super easy. But I love the fact that like even in her, I think it's her Instagram page, she talks about being a travel designer. And I think that that's what it feels like. And she does a fantastic job with it. We have experienced what it felt like to feel like it was a luxury vacation. So
yeah. And she's not a travel agent. No. I think that's very different. You can go to AAA, you can hire a travel agent, you can work with American Express, but she's literally going to ask you like, hey, so what kind of experience do you want in Greece? Do you want to live with the Greek people? Do you want to experience like the city life? Do you want to be a tourist? Do you want to have activities? Do you want it to be jam-packed? Are you looking for relaxation? So she's going to ask you and survey you, and then she's going to put together something that's going to be specifically tailored to whatever you're trying to create for your trip. So for us, it was about experiences. It was about photo opportunities, making memories, having activities, and taking in as much as we could. Eddie wanted a little bit of history. So we spent, the day at the Acropolis. We'll talk about that. And so we kind of catered, I wanted memories, right? So she booked a family photo shoot for us in Santorini, which we'll talk to you about. So anyways, can't recommend her enough, but let's dive in because she booked everything for us except for our flights. So Eddie booked the flights through American Express. We had racked up a ton of points and we cashed in on those points. They were very helpful. And so we used all of our points and booked our flights from LA to London and then from London to Athens. And then we had flights coming back, right? Well, there was a lot of stuff that Brianna did to set us up to be prepared for those flights, like COVID testing. Where are you going?
I just want to say, as you go through this episode is kind of like a what in the world.
The whole thing is a what in the world. I just want
to say that so people know this. It's going to have a little fun, but this is all the obstacles, and we're curious in how you would respond to all these things. But go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, so Brianna said, since you're flying into London, which is the UK, you need to make sure that you have COVID tests, right? You have to make sure that they fall within a window, though. So I think it was something like 72 hours of you arriving in London, you needed to have taken a test and proven that you were negative, right? So that pushed us to wait until the last minute because originally we were taking a 10-hour trip from LAX to London and it still had to be within the 72 hours.
And so that's obviously very
the first
tricky,
problem.
Right? Because it's be within the 72 hours, but you lose or you gain. I don't know. Well, you go 10 hours ahead in time. So you time travel. So basically you lose a day. So you got to do it right on the edge.
Well, so
that when you arrive in the UK, you're within that 3 days and not pushed to the fourth
So here's
day.
the math. They are 12 hours ahead of us. And we were taking a 10.5-hour flight. So that was 22 hours out of the 72 that we had to do the math on. So that put us at a certain day, a certain time that we had to be at the pharmacy to take the COVID tests. And in order
Can't
to fall...
take it too early, can't take it too late.
And in order to fall within that, my mother-in-law, she spent like $160 on her COVID test. It needs to be a PCR test, not an antigen test, right? So lots to do research on, but luckily Brianna was kind of guiding us through this. So long story short, we don't get our COVID tests until the very last minute. And it was like midnight the night before we were getting ready to leave. So thank God everyone was negative and it worked out.
Yeah. And can I just add to this? Because as we were taking the tests, reports were coming out that even because we're fully vaccinated, more and more vaccinated people were getting the Delta virus. And I was like, oh my God, the last thing we need is to not only wait to the last hour to get our results,
right,
but to have someone test positive. I knew it wasn't going to be me.
Well, you didn't know that. And so we had just come back from Dallas or from Texas. We had just come back from Vegas. So we were more active in the past 4 days prior to that than ever during the whole pandemic. Right. So even though we were fully vaccinated, it was still kind of questionable. So we made a family pact. If someone comes back positive, the whole trip is off.
Right.
Because that would really suck if we had to leave somebody behind, and that wouldn't be fair. So I don't know what you would do as a family in that situation, but our deal was...
Maybe some families are a little bit more cutthroat. They're like, if you come down with it, that's your responsibility. We're out of here.
Yeah, I'm just going to say I'd be super salty if I got left
but
home.
Our family is one of those things where it would be incomplete if somebody wasn't there.
For sure.
Right? It would have been incomplete. So.
Okay, moving on. We finally got the results. Like I said, midnight at our flight. We had to leave our house at 5 a.m. to get to the airport by 6 to catch an 8:30 a.m. flight. Okay, so that's 2.5 hours to get us through everything we need to get through.
I think that was our first mistake.
Why? We should have allotted for 3 hours.
We should have allowed for 3 hours. In normal times, I think 2 hours would have been okay.
But we had 2.5.
I think 2.5. I think international travel, you probably want to go there a little early. But in COVID times, you got to get there real early.
Right. Because you also have to have a ton of grace.
You got to have a ton of grace. And everybody's interactions with like the flight, the ticketing booths, everything is just longer.
Right.
Right.
And you have to also remember that the people at the ticketing counter and all of the employees that work for the airlines, they are literally getting changes handed to them. You know, hey, welcome to work. This is what we're looking for today. Right. So yesterday, an antigen test might have been okay to fly into London, but today we were requiring a PCR test. So we were like, let's just think ahead. We'll do PCR so we don't have to argue with anyone or, have any sort of
Brianna
misinformation.
Gave us the parameters, and so we were good with that.
Okay, so then second thing was there was a personal locator form, which we were told that needed to be filled out when we got to London. But you did try to be proactive and fill it out. And then there was a problem. It aired out. It was asking for something that had to do with check-in. We also tried to check in to our flights the night before, and it wouldn't allow us to. And we realized that that's because when you get to the airport for international travel, they want to check your vaccination record. They want to check your COVID test and all that. So we were like, okay, let's just get there early.
So a lot of that stuff, we were just like, okay, I guess this is because of this. And so we just kind of moved with it. Right.
So we get to the Delta kiosk. We're trying to check in and it's giving us American Airlines. It's giving us an issue. So we have to go to the ticketing counter. So we go to get in line and this employee from health that works for American Airlines. Yeah. She was super rude. Okay, fine. I understand it's challenging for you to deal with international travelers right now. But she was like, you need to fill out the locator form right now, scan this, QR code and sit there and do it for every single family member. Well, this is not an easy form. Like it takes a while. You've got to put in all of your information.
It's 6 of us, by the way.
We stand to the side and all 6 of us. So now we're distributing, passports, COVID vaccinations, negative test results to every single one of us. There's 6 of us. We're traveling with Eddie's mom. And we're trying to fill out ours and everyone's asking us what to put. So long story short, it took about 45 minutes. Secretly inside, I'm like looking at my watch and I'm like, this is definitely taking way too long. Right. What if we don't make it? Right. So I'm just like kind of fear casting in my head, but not panicking.
No, we say, okay, you asked the lady, should we be worried?
No. I said, I'm getting a little worried because now we've just spent 45 minutes. That's eating into our check-in time. And she looked me dead in the face and she said, you should be worried. I was like, okay, what? Thanks for, that was helpful. Thank you.
Absolutely.
So we finally make it past, the guard of hell, get in line, make it up. We wait our turn. We get in line. Now we've already wasted an hour and 15 minutes. So Olivia, who dropped us off at the airport, is gone, right? Yeah. She's back in Glendora now. And so we make it to the front and we hand the lady our passports. She's going through the form, the passports, all the stuff. She's being really sweet, telling us, oh, your passport's not signed. Okay, well, why have we traveled all these other places and now we got to sit here sign it? She was very helpful.
Right.
So we weren't really worried until after she spends 15 minutes, being helpful and nice and making sure our passport's signed. She goes to scan us in and they say, you don't have a flight booked.
Right. So
you're not booked.
And so
you have no ticket.
Well, first, no, my mom's waving at me. She said our flight left last night. And I was like, what? And then the lady who's helping us, because my mom went to a different window, says, yeah, it looks like your ticket, you don't have any tickets for your flight. I see your booking, but I don't see your tickets. And I was like,
what does that language mean?
I don't speak airline. Right?
Yeah.
What are you saying to me? You don't have a ticket for your flight.
So she says that
so you sit there and when you hear something like that, and you take everything in context. You say you got your whole family, you packed up, you got prepared.
We're ready to go.
You're ready to go. You got plans, you got an itinerary, all these different things. And someone tells you, well, I'm sorry, you don't have any tickets. You can't go.
Yeah.
You're sitting there going, what? And then you're like, okay, and we can't fix it because there's no time to fix it. We stop basically transacting tickets an hour before the flight.
And so by the way, boarding starts 10 minutes from now.
Right. So now there's no time to actually purchase the tickets for the flight.
Well, this is what happened. Eddie, again, booked the flights through American Express. Apparently, they are acting as a travel agent, right? Because they're
like a third party broker
and
for your tickets.
And they work with, American Airlines.
Right.
So apparently, American Airlines is telling us, well, they missed one step and it's not confirmed. So you're technically not booked for this flight. So we're like, okay, well, how do we technically get booked? Because we got luggage and we're ready to go to Greece.
We're ready.
And she said, you can step aside and you can call American Express. And so we're like, okay, well, what if it takes us 30 minutes to get through? She said, either way, you're not getting on this plane because the plane is boarding in 10 minutes. You have no flights. You have nothing booked and you haven't even gone through TSA or anything. So you're not getting on this plane. So everyone hears and we're like, okay. Well, I guess we'll stand to the side. So she politely hands us all of our passports back and we move to the side and we're like, well, this is fucking great. We have no flights to get out of this country. We're going to Greece somehow, some way.
Yeah.
So first thing, Eddie calls American Express, right? And I'm like, this is going to be a forever thing that we have to sort out. It's going to take a few hours. And first thing I'm thinking is, let's get Olivia back so we can after you had been on the phone for 20 minutes, I was like, we can't just stand in the airport, right? So let's get Olivia back and let's see. Now, I have no perception of time, but she had been gone for an hour already. So she's like, I can come all the way back if you want. I'm like, don't come back, whatever, we'll figure it out. So then we start looking up, let's just go to a hotel. We're near LAX, let's find a shuttle, let's take a taxi, let's take an Uber. We can't find any Ubers that will fit and accommodate all 6 of us.
Right.
So we're trying to handle all of this while Eddie is on hold with American Express. Now it's been 30, 40 minutes, right?
And it was the longest call ever.
Of your life.
Right.
3 hours total.
Let me remind you, when I call American Express, normally it's 1 minute.
Right.
And I got somebody on the phone, they're like, thank you for being a platinum, blah, blah, blah. We appreciate your service. How can we help you? This was not that. It was we have extended long term. I'm like, extended wait times. Right. What are you talking about?
Okay, so this is what we did. We found the Hilton LAX was we can give you a day rate. It's $200. You can get the hotel room from now until 6 p.m. My plan was let's just get out of the airport because we have no travel booked. So let's just go down the street. We'll get a hotel, have some breakfast, figure it out, get some flights, and then we'll come back to the airport. But we're getting on a plane and we are going to Greece somehow, some way today, right? Yeah. So we take a shuttle with all 6 of us carrying, freaking carry-ons and luggage.
Mind you, I'm still on the phone.
Still on the phone. We pull up to the Hilton. We check in. He's still on the phone. He has to stay at the front of the hotel.
So I walk into the hotel like I'm supposed to. And then all of a sudden, this hotel is like a freaking trap door. It is no service beyond this place. So I'm walking, all of a sudden, this 45-minute long call that I've been on hold, having conversations. They're trying to figure things out. They're like, we're so sorry, we don't know what's going on. Gets cut off.
Okay.
And then I'm like, okay, well, I gave my callback number, but I had no service in this hotel. So I have to walk all the way to the front of the hotel and stand by the door.
The entrance. It's windy.
And I'm
it's
like,
cold.
it's cold.
It's early.
The door keeps opening and closing and opening and closing. And I'm like, oh my God. And so then I'm waiting for this call back. It doesn't come. So I call them back again. And then I get someone and they're like, gotta go through the whole thing again.
Okay,
this is what happened.
In the middle of all this, while you're standing at the entrance freezing your butt off, I have taken all of the kids upstairs with all of the luggage. We dropped off all the suitcases because it's a lot of stuff. And then now we're like, okay, let's get some quick breakfast. I've ordered breakfast for everyone. Eddie's food has come. It's now been an hour and he's still on hold. Misses the whole breakfast, misses everything. And we still have no resolution with American Express. So fast forward, I finally just get so upset. I call Brianna and I'm like, what do we do? And she's like, well, we can, book another flight. But what happened is you still have like your return flight that is booked through American Express. So if we cancel that,
or
we're
maybe
booking.
Not.
Right. So we don't really know because we can't talk to anyone at American Express that will give us any like information. So I give her the green light and I say, just do it. Find flights right now to get us on as early as possible and just book a round trip like we're doing it today, right? So guess what? Instead of costing $7,000 for travel, it now costs us $11,000 to book a whole new set of round trip tickets to Greece that leave within the next 3 hours for 6 people. So we're like, okay, well, we'll just do it. We're going to take the chance. And when we finally get back and we finally get through to American Express, maybe they will, no, not maybe, they will refund the original trip, pay for the difference because we shouldn't have to go from 7 to 11. That's not our fault, right? And they should comp us for the freaking breakfast that cost $100-something and the hotel room that cost $200. So we literally go out on a limb and just say, F it, we're getting on a plane, let's just do it. Right when we do that, American Express finally picks up the phone and they say, okay, well, we can take care of the changes, whatever. Long story short, we hung up on them because we don't want to cause any more confusion.
Right.
And now we have flights booked that leave in the next couple of hours. So we've got to take the shuttle back to LAX, unload again. And now we're going to Amsterdam, which is not in the UK, which now does not require a COVID test.
Right.
So we didn't need the COVID test, right? Which is fine, whatever. Right. So we fly from LAX to Amsterdam. The Amsterdam airport was pretty cool.
Yeah. We're
there for a few hours.
It was like a airport that was sponsored by IKEA. That's what it felt like.
Really?
Like all the furniture, the sign, everything looked like IKEA. And I think that because you're near, like Amsterdam is near like Sweden, I think, and I think IKEA is a Swedish company, like all that stuff, it looked like I was in IKEA.
Okay, well, we didn't make it to McDonald's, but we did get some food there, had like a 3-hour layover. And the thing is from LAX to Amsterdam, now that we had last minute tickets, none of us were sitting together. Well, we were in pairs of 2. So we didn't travel together. We were just scattered throughout the plane. Who cares? As long as we get there, it didn't matter. We weren't worried about that. So that's something.
We were flying this, I've never heard of it, KLM. Yeah, KLM Dutch airline. Mm-hmm. And there's something about the Dutch, they love carbs because everything was bread.
On the plane?
On the plane. And I got to tell you, it was not good. It was not.
Well, I don't think anyone raves about the airplane food.
Hey, I would tell you, they had a chicken and rice coming home that I was like, can I get seconds, please? And they said no. But I will tell you that the food on the Dutch plane, and I love the Dutch people, but I will tell you that was not good. So.
Okay, moving on. So we take the flight from Amsterdam or from LAX to Amsterdam. That's a 10.5-hour flight.
Right. Then
we have a like 3-hour layover in Amsterdam. Now we've got to go from Amsterdam to Athens, which is another, let's say 3 hours, right? So we never saw nighttime. We left at noon LA time. We traveled for like 16 hours, went ahead in time. And then we arrived in Athens. Finally, it was like 3 or 4 p.m.
It was so strange. I mean, the good thing is they closed all the blinds, but
your body is like, what the hell day is it? And what's going on?
You never saw the night. And so you're just kind of like, okay, do I just keep going?
Right. Yeah. So our driver picks us up in Athens. Brianna sets all this up. We've got someone holding a Copeland sign. We see him. We're excited. But one thing is we did not ever go to the bank in California and do any currency exchange. So we have no euros, right? So at the airport, we've got to go and pay whatever the fee is. So I would just advise you, if you're traveling internationally, go to your bank early. They need like a week. You order money and then they call you when it comes in. And so we should have shown up to Athens, in Greece with the euros that we had already exchanged.
And I think because we went with the mindset what we did in Thailand, like as soon as you got off the plane, you go and do the currency exchange.
Right. So that's just a little FYI.
Right.
Okay. So our driver, picks us up. The cool thing is like the taxis and just all the cars were like Mercedes and like high-end vehicles. But the taxis were not bright yellow cabs. They were like pastel cabs. Yeah. They were really pretty. I don't understand.
You guys thought they were pretty.
So weird.
I thought they used to be yellow, and because it's so damn hot that the color faded. That's what it looked like to me, but maybe it was just a pretty pastel.
No.
I don't know.
So the driver takes us. It's about a 45-minute drive. We go to where we're staying in Athens, which I can't really remember the name of the city, but it's definitely in the middle and the heart of the city. It gave me like downtown LA vibes. There was lots of graffiti, lots of street vendors, lots of food, just little shops, all the way people were socially drinking and eating outside. It was just a fun kind of vibe.
Yeah. And when you think of like, I guess the stereotypical like European experience, it was that like, cafes, different places you can drink and be social. The streets were beautiful. Even though there was graffiti, it just had this feel that you got, oh, this is really beautiful, like in its own way.
Right. So this is kind of weird, but our driver, as we're getting closer to, we don't even know when we're going to get there or whatever. But at one point he goes, stay out of this area. It's unsafe. And we're like in broken English. And we're like, okay. He goes, the Pakistanis and the Arabs, stay away from them. And we thought, is he racist or is this factual or
racist.
Yeah. So I just wonder, like, if your driver said that to you, would you take it as fact? Or would you say, I wonder if this guy's a little biased, or should I proceed with caution, or should I be discriminatory? Or so that was just kind of like weird. We were like, okay, well, let's, whatever. We'd all it was funny how we all processed it the same way.
Yeah.
Because that would be the equivalent of someone flying in from out of the country and your Uber driver says, stay away from all the black and brown people. They're dangerous.
You're like, what?
Yeah. You don't say stuff like that.
Yeah,
but maybe it was factual. We don't know, but it was still kind of offensive.
Yeah. Say it was definitely his personal kind of feelings. Because I saw a lot of Pakistani people I didn't ask them, but people who would resemble someone maybe that was Pakistani that seemed very reasonable, seemed like they were chilling, doing their thing. Well, but I do think that in every society there is a bit of bigotry and racism and things of that nature. And that's probably what that was.
So 30 seconds after he makes this comment to stay out of this neighborhood, he turns a corner and he goes, okay, this is where you're staying. And we're like, wait, in the bad area? Yeah. Like, we know that this wouldn't be a bad area because Brianna booked our travel. And so he pulls up, there's graffiti everywhere. It's definitely in an alley, but all of their streets kind of look like alleys. They're very narrow. And so he basically takes our luggage out and says, good luck, like I'm out, right? So then we're like, okay.
He's gone.
Right. So what do we do? So it just so happens that the graffiti door that was to our right, there was a guy coming out of the door and he asked us if we were the Copelands. And I was like, yes. And he goes, you're not supposed to be here until midnight. And I was like, midnight? What? But we were never getting in at midnight. So that was strange. Anyways, he goes, oh, come on, I'll help you go inside. So we go into the graffiti door, walk up about 1,000,000 steps, right? But he goes, oh, there's an elevator right there.
5 flights of stairs.
But each floor had 3 flights of stairs. Right. So it was like 3 times 5, which is 15 flights of stairs.
It was crazy.
So he says, oh, there's an elevator right there if you want to put your luggage in. Mind you guys, the elevator is maybe 4x4. And then
not even that.
Probably 3x3, right? So maybe 2 people and 2 luggages, if that could fit in there. 2 people, 1 luggage, right? So anyways, we pile the luggage in, we send it up in the elevator. Someone has to run up there to get it. Long story short, we go into our 3-bedroom flat that Brianna had booked for us. And it was beautiful. Only thing was they were in the middle of cleaning it. Right. So we couldn't really walk in because, the floors were wet. And it was just like, okay, this is bad timing for everybody. How did this happen? Whatever. So we didn't get to walk into like
Right.
It was like we'd been traveling. We were tired. We just want to throw our stuff and sit down and go to the bathroom.
You give me the mop? I'll help you mop.
Yeah. So we're like trying to not, be in their way, but we couldn't at the same time really enjoy the space or take a load off for 5 minutes. And so that was kind of weird, but whatever. When they finally left, we were like, okay, this place is pretty badass.
Right.
Like we've got a cool view.
Yeah, amazing view. You go into the balcony. There's a jacuzzi there, and you look off to kind of your right, and you see the ruins, the Acropolis ruins, and you're like, oh my God, that is fantastic. Like that is beautiful, right? You're in the city of Athens. One of the oldest, cities of civilization, right? And it's just this amazing view. And so just a breathtaking.
Here's what I'll tell you. What was really strange to me was everything was built on top of each other. Like everything was touching. Like this building that was like 5 stories was touching this building that was 10 stories. And the 10-story was touching the 6-story. And some of the units or the buildings looked like literally at some point they were on fire or there was an explosion. But then at the very top of that building, there would be this amazing like $1 million penthouse.
Right.
So it was like, that doesn't look safe. Like that looks like a cool place you'd want to stay, but you'd be telling people that you're staying in the burned building.
Right.
So it was just so odd to me. I was like, where are the city inspectors? Where are the building inspectors? And then in another portion of our home where we can see the view overlooking all of this civilization, there's literally a building here, and it looks like they had blown out and demoed the building in the middle. But now that the middle one is gone, the roof is caving in on the one to the right. So it's like each building needs the other building to support the structure because they're built together or on top of each other or like using the other building as support.
It definitely did not. It looked like abandoned buildings and looked like it was unsafe.
So later on in the trip, we met a civil engineer. His name was Nick. And so we chatted with him about like how unsafe a lot of the structures looked. And he's like, everything is grandfathered in and it's kind of a mess, but it was just really interesting. So what's the point? The point is Athens wasn't so breathtaking, but it was cool and city vibe. And like, this is just how things are. You can clearly see a stark difference in how we build things in America versus how things are built. Kind of just like, put it there. One building they like demoed and trashed and then took all of the trash from that building and threw it into the building next door. And I'm like, who's going to bring all that down?
Yeah. And I think for me, what was amazing, not only was it the view, but the scale. Like you look out of your window or you get to the highest point and you look down at the city of Athens and it is vast. I mean, you see
so populated.
And the crazy thing is, it's like when you look at the United States, like all the neighborhoods, like the roofs may be similar, but there's different color houses. All the houses are the exact same color, right? When you look across and you see just all white, right?
Yeah.
And so that's just a very interesting thing, but it also it just gives it so much scale. And you look across and you see this vast, scenery of white buildings of homes. And it's just amazing to me. So it was just fantastic.
So the second morning, we get an early start because Eddie likes history. And so we're going to go visit the Acropolis.
Let's go see it.
And the museum. And we're going to spend about 4 hours there. So we leave and already at 7:30 in the morning, it's 100 degrees.
It is
so hot, you guys.
It is like hot. There's a bit of humidity. And I'm like, okay. Like you need
but we're about to be embarking on a journey at the top of a mountain for 4 hours, hiking up a hill.
Now, mind you, the Acropolis is this ruin that is very old, but it's completely like marble.
Right. White marble that attracts the sun, radiates it off.
You're like, this is beautiful. And you're like getting this reflection of the sun off the marble. And you're like, oh my God, I think it's blinding. It's like blinding. But I think it's also making it like 10, 20 degrees hotter here.
Yeah. So if it was 105 at the bottom of the Acropolis mountain, at the top, it was a solid 125.
Yeah.
But wait, we're not even there yet. We had to find out how to get to the train station to take the train to get to the Acropolis, right?
Right. And so here's the thing. And so most places, but a lot of tourist places, there's English is, obviously English is very wide used throughout the world. Mm-hmm. And so English, usually when you go to these places, like even in Thailand and even in Greece, a lot of things are in Greek and they're also in English. But then there's parts of Athens just Greek.
Right. We were in that part.
And so we're in that part and we're trying to take a subway and when people are telling you names of things and you're like, okay.
But it's in their language and you can't understand them. So like 5 people tried to give us directions, but they're like, go down to, and they'll tell you the name of the street. And you're like, there are no street signs. You can't read any of the street signs because the street signs are in Greek, right? So
but not only that, but the street signs, because you're used to in America, you're looking for the street sign that is like right on the corner of the street. The street signs are actually on the building, right? And so that took a while for us to identify that. I was like, oh my God, the street signs are on the building. So let's look at the buildings and find the actual street sign.
So we finally get to the train station. And then now we're trying to select with our credit card. And the whole system is in Greek as well. So we don't know, are we paying for a day pass? Is it a monthly pass? Is it? So we're just pushing buttons. We're trying to ask people and they're answering us in Greek. And we're like, okay, we're literally screwed.
And the people are being so helpful.
So helpful.
But we're just like,
but we have no clue what they're saying.
And it was one of those things that it hit me right then and there. And maybe we'll talk about it in another episode. But I just want to say, like, the faster you can let go of like, what you want things to be. Like you want them to be in English. You want them to be easy for you to digest.
Then stay in your country.
Yeah. The quicker you can let go, the better you can adapt, right? The quicker you can adapt, because I kept wanting to make the sense of it from like what I'm used to. I was looking for street signs that were supposed to be where I thought street signs to be, instead of saying, okay, where would the street signs be? Like, they didn't even ask that question. I was just kind of like, so I we'll get into that another day, because I think that there was a lot of like customs and rituals and perspectives that we needed to let go of and widen in order to really adapt quickly.
Well, this is going to be a 2-part episode. Yeah. So this is part 1, and just kind of moving on to the train station that we finally somehow figure out how to get 6 passes for the train.
Right.
Catch is we get on the train and we have no clue what exit to get off of.
Well, we do.
We had to figure it out on the map. Again, not reading anything in English. But then we were like, okay, this symbol looks like this symbol. And we can just connect the dots, right? And so word to the wise, download the Google Translator. We just didn't have a translator, but also we thought we could figure it out. And nothing was in English, right? So we're, in this subway station, we finally get off on what the picture was we thought we were supposed to. We've got to transfer to the green line. We're calling it red line, green line, like we're in LA.
Right. But also keep in mind, it's 6 of us, 6 personalities.
6 different suggestions.
And we've raised very,
outgoing, independent
thinkers. And so everybody's got an opinion. Right. So
we're supposed to go this way.
This is where we're supposed to go. And then you have to come to a consensus in order to really decide, move things forward. Yeah.
So your mom goes up to someone and says, excuse me, how do we get on the green line? And they're like, what? And she goes, the green line. I'm like, Mom, it's not called the green line.
We're just calling it the green line.
Yeah, we're calling it that. So she's like, okay, thank you. The lady answered her 100% in Greek.
And then, we started to I think what happened in my mind, we started to let go of those things and we started saying, okay, this is the name of this. Say it again.
Right.
And then this is the name. They said to go to this. This is what we're looking for. And then I think it was Kayla that really kind of put it together on the subway. And she's like, okay, we got to go here.
It starts with an M. It ends with an S. Right. That's where we're going. So look, this is that one. And we're like, okay, fine. We're just going to listen to you. Let's just do it.
Yeah.
So we made it, right? We made it. We're 25 minutes late for a guided tour.
Yeah.
Now the issue is the person that was going to help us with the guided tour says, meet us at this address. Well, again, there's no street signs, right? So we come out of the subway station. We can see the Acropolis. I'm like, let's just go there. And he goes, no, this guy said we have to meet them here.
Right.
So somehow we get lost because the walking directions are not working.
Yeah.
Long story short, we're 25 minutes
Apple
late.
Maps, and all these things are not helping us when it comes to walking. And so then we come up and we weren't aware that other people were waiting for us as well.
Yeah, didn't know that. So sorry.
So sorry.
But we couldn't have done anything differently.
Yeah,
we left super early.
So we walk in there and they're like, okay, do you have the tickets? Do you have this? I'm like, nope.
Yeah.
And so they got us all squared away. And then we rush away and we head to the Acropolis for our guided tour. They had kind of already started without us, but then they kind of caught us up. And then we were on our way.
Right. So we start the tour. And remember, we said it was 105, 107 degrees, literally dripping in sweat.
And I'm thinking
this is where my rash started.
And I'm thinking to myself, Am I the only one that's dripping? Because I feel like the locals here are hot, but they're not like, I look like I had just finished playing a full court game of basketball.
Right.
My face is like I'm dripping.
From your beard.
Like from a beard, everything just streams.
Shirt soaking wet.
And I'm just like, at this point, I'm embracing it, but I know people are looking at him going, damn, is he that hot? I'm like, yes. I look like I come from Alaska and I've traveled to, 115 degree Greece. So it was crazy.
The tour guide, though, and all the people that worked there were not sweating profusely
not
like we were. And it was like kind of humbling because you're like, okay, shut up. Stop talking about how hot it is. Stop talking about how sweaty you are. But why aren't they sweating like we are, right? So clearly they have adapted. Their bodies have adjusted. Later come to find out that this is the hottest heat wave in Greece in 40 years. So we just happened to get super lucky and make it there during the hottest heat wave in 40 years. And so anyways, we make our way up the Acropolis. There's tons of hiking and steps. And I just want to shout out like your mom's 64 years old. She made it like a champ. And, there was a couple areas we had to help her, but I was really proud and impressed with her.
And we have to help her because we were sitting there getting a presentation of where the Apostle Paul was trying to argue with the Greek philosophers about Christianity and was not very successful. And as we're hearing that, this guy slips down, like we said, marble is everywhere.
It was like they poured oil on the marble. He slipped all of his legs came out from under him.
We're going to have to help my mom with that section right there.
I needed help too. So we were helping each other. What I didn't tell the family was that when we finally made it to the top after, 4 hours, I was literally like, I was sweating so bad. I was seeing black. My body was physically overheating. And I kept thinking to myself, what are they going to do when I pass out up here? Like, because I can't be the only person in history to pass out in the middle of the Acropolis. Will they send a helicopter? How much will that cost? How will they get me down? Are they going to airlift me? Like I was literally planning out what would happen when I died of heat exhaustion because that's how bad it was to me. I didn't tell you guys that, but I literally felt unwell.
Well, I
Luckily,
can see that
survived.
You were overheating. Like I can see, like I know my wife.
I just shut down.
I was looking at her. She didn't say much. She was like,
I was not impressed by much. I was like,
mind you, this guided tour. They're using they have microphones and stuff. And I'm like, why am I carrying this?
Microphones
they gave
didn't
us
work.
like a lanyard with like a little thing on it. I'm like, what is this for? Is it like, and I'm like putting it on and I'm like, there's nothing happening. And everyone has it on. And I had no clue. We didn't have any clue that they're sitting there listening to the guided, our guide in full stereo sound. And I'm like, okay, we didn't have. I'm like,
okay, no one told us to put this shit on because I'm over here upset that she's looking that way, but talking to us and I can't hear her. And I'm like, how do these people hear? So I was like, I'm getting old. That's what it is. I'm getting old. I'm gonna have to tell my husband that my hearing is going because everybody else seems to be engaging and I have no clue what she's saying.
Right.
So then we put the headset on because luckily Julie and Peter, another couple we met, told us, hey, put this on. It'll make things so much better. But then the headsets didn't work. So whatever. That was just like one of many things, right? And so we finally take all the pictures. We go to the museum. In my opinion, it was an hour longer than it needed to be.
But my lovely wife, she asked a question that I was like, oh my God, I can't believe she asked that. But it was pretty funny. She said, okay. Goes to the tour guide and says, okay, so how do we, now obviously the Acropolis has lots of history. It's been under attack. And so back when Persia was an actual country, the Persians invaded and bombed the Acropolis. So they
destroyed the Acropolis. Wait. Everything was about the Persians came and the Persians did this and the Persians did this. So I'm like, I have a question.
She goes,
are we beefing with the Persians?
Yeah, do we not like the Persians?
And
she goes, well, Persia's no longer a place anymore.
but she said, but yes, there's definitely like some. No, she didn't say beef.
No, that is long gone. And she was like, she said, no, there's no beef. I'm actually Persian.
Right.
Right. At the tour guide said, I'm actually
But
Persian.
It's a touchy subject.
Yeah, but
they bombed everything.
There is a storied history there, but it was pretty funny. She's like, she said, should we not like the Persians right now?
I said, do we not like the Persians? Yeah. Like, I need to understand because we just spent 4 hours at, talking about all of that they destroyed. I just want to know, are we cool with them?
Right.
So that was pretty funny. So we finished the tour. We wind up getting some good lunch. It it was so hot. Like, I just can't tell you anything else about.
Can I just say that? Yeah. And it was one thing, we got into the museum, and the museum was air conditioned. So that was a relief. And the museum itself is amazing.
Yeah.
It's state of the art. It is fantastic. And the crazy thing is as they were building the museum, they found artifacts as they were digging up. And so that's part of like the experience. So I won't give it away. So if you ever decide to go, but I will say that probably the most impressive thing for me that I took from it was the hand.
The hand.
So on top of the Acropolis, there were all of these sculptures of different symbols and things that had meaning. And they had several different artists, Greek artists, that were working on it.
Well, all of which are unknown.
All of which are unknown. All of them were paid very little to do it, but it was part of it. It was like a passion thing. So they highlight in the tour this one particular hand that was so well done, that was perfect on every angle. However, it was never to be seen because it was the way it was going to be positioned on top of the Acropolis. You would only see one portion of the hand, not the entire hand. So it would have been easy just to sculpt one half of it. But to do it all was because it was like that to me was so impactful. Like, if you're going to do something, like, do the complete thing, make it as perfect as you possibly can.
Even if no one
sees it.
Yes.
That was huge. So that was...
what was huge for me in Athens were the chocolate croissants. Greek people take their coffee very seriously.
They do.
We were ordering coffee all wrong. Jasmine was embarrassed to say this. She's a barista at Starbucks, so she never mentioned it once. They had great gelato, however you say it. And just so you know, if you're traveling with someone who has a nut allergy, everything that says chocolate is actually Nutella, which has hazelnuts, which Jordan is deathly allergic to. So we'll talk to you about in the next episode how she had to shoot herself up at breakfast with an EpiPen. So thank you for listening.
We'll leave you with this cliffhanger. So we spent all this time in Athens, and I get up the next morning to confirm our ferry ride to go to the next island.
Wait, time out. We have this beautiful balcony that overlooks the city.
And so I get up early. I'm like, I got
to read his stoic book.
I got my books. I got a nice thing of water. The sun is not completely out yet. It feels good. I'm staring at the Acropolis like, oh my God, this is freaking amazing. And I said, let me just check into our ferry ride and make sure we're all straight. But all of a sudden, the ferry, like the software or whatever the online was not allowing me to check in. And that led to big trouble. And we'll get to that in the next episode.
Okay. Or we could finish that out now.
No, that's a cliffhanger. That's how you let people coming back for more.
Okay. Well, we'll see you in the next episode then. Bye, guys.